Good morning, everyone. Leadership isn't about a title. It's not about a corner office, authority, or how many people report to you. Leadership is influence, and influence starts with you. Before you can lead others, you must first learn to lead yourself. Because how can we expect people to trust us if we don't trust ourselves? How can we expect people to follow if we don't even know where we're going? Before you can lead others, you must first lead yourself. And before you can lead yourself, you need to know why you are leading in the first place. Leadership isn't about power, titles, or authority. It's about purpose. Without a clear sense of purpose, leadership becomes empty, directionless, and ultimately unsustainable. Knowing your why means understanding what drives you, what you stand for, and what impact you want to create. It's not about setting goals. It's about uncovering the deeper reason behind those goals. It's about identifying the internal force that fuels your actions, decisions, and ambitions. When you have a strong why, leadership stops being something you do and becomes a reflection of who you are. Many people think leadership starts when they are given a position or when others begin to follow them. But the truth is, leadership starts long before that. It starts with self-awareness. It starts with asking the tough questions. Why do I want to lead? What values do I hold? What change do I want to bring? These are not easy questions, and for many, the answers are not immediately clear. But without them, leadership is like sailing without a compass. You may move, but you have no real direction. Having a strong why is what separates great leaders from those who merely hold leadership position. People don't follow because of a title, they follow because of belief. And belief is built on purpose. If you don't believe in what you're doing, why should anyone else? If you don't know where you're going, why would anyone trust you to lead them? Your why is what gives you credibility. It is the reason people will choose to stand by you in times of uncertainty. But here's the challenge. Discovering your why is not always straightforward. It requires introspection, patience, and sometimes even failure. Many people spend years chasing success only to realize they were climbing the wrong ladder. They followed paths dictated by society, family, or financial incentives rather than their true calling. That's why knowing your why early is so important. It saves you from living a life of regret, from waking up one day and realizing that all your effort was for something that never truly mattered to you. Your why also serves as your anchor in difficult times. Leadership is not easy. It comes with challenges, setbacks, and criticism. Without a strong sense of purpose, it's easy to give up. The best leaders don't continue because everything is going smoothly. They continue because their purpose is bigger than their struggles. They have a cause greater than themselves, something worth fighting for. When you know your why, obstacles don't make you quit. They make you more determined. Another important aspect of knowing your why is that it keeps you authentic. Leadership isn't about trying to be someone you're not. It's about aligning your actions with your beliefs. When leaders try to fit a mold or lead in a way that contradicts their values, they come across as insincere. People can sense when a leader lacks authenticity, and nothing erodes trust faster than a leader who is not true to themselves. Your why also attracts the right people. Leadership is not about convincing everyone to follow you. It's about finding the people who believe what you believe. When you are clear about your purpose, you naturally draw in those who share your vision. This creates stronger teams, deeper loyalty, and a culture of alignment and trust. So before you seek to lead others, ask yourself, why do I want to lead? What is the deeper reason behind my actions? Leadership is not about seeking followers. It's about serving a purpose so powerful that others are inspired to join you. When you know your why, leadership is no longer a burden, it becomes a calling. Leadership is not about telling people what to do, it's about showing them how it's done. True leadership is built on action, not words. You can give speeches, set expectations, and create strategies, but if your actions don't align with what you preach, people will not follow you with trust or conviction. Leading by example is the foundation of leadership because people don't follow what you say, they follow what you do. When you lead by example, you set the standard. You create a culture of accountability, discipline, and integrity, not by demanding it from others, but by demonstrating it yourself. If you want a team that works hard, you must be willing to work harder. If you want people to be honest, you must show complete transparency. If you expect commitment, you must be the first to commit. Leadership is not about pushing people. It's about inspiring them through your own action. One of the greatest mistakes leaders make is believing that their position alone earns them respect. Titles may grant authority, but they do not create trust. Trust is built through consistency. If you say one thing and do another, people will notice. They will start questioning your intentions, your reliability, and your credibility. But when your actions align with your words, you create an environment where people feel safe, valued, and motivated to follow. Leading by example also means being the first to embrace the challenges you ask others to take on. If you expect your team to adapt to change, you must show that you are adaptable. If you ask for resilience in tough times, you must demonstrate resilience yourself. When leaders lead from a distance, telling others to take risks while they remain in their comfort zone, people see through it. They will not follow someone who is unwilling to go through the same struggles they face. But when a leader steps into the trenches, works alongside their team, and takes the same risks, they earn unwavering loyalty. Another key aspect of leading by example is humility. A leader who acts as if they are above the rules creates a toxic culture. The moment a leader believes they are exempt from the expectations they set for others, they lose credibility. Great leaders admit their mistakes, acknowledge their weaknesses, and seek feedback just like they expect their teams to do. They don't pretend to have all the answers. Instead, they demonstrate a willingness to learn and grow. This creates a culture where people feel comfortable making mistakes and improving rather than fearing judgment or failure. Leading by example also requires emotional intelligence. A leader who constantly reacts with frustration, impatience, or negativity teaches their team to do the same. If you want a culture of optimism and problem solving, you must embody those qualities, even in difficult times. People take cues from their leaders on how to handle pressure, uncertainty, and setbacks. A leader who remains calm and solution-oriented in tough moments sets the tone for the entire team. Perhaps the most powerful part of leading by example is the ripple effect it creates. When people see a leader who is disciplined, ethical, and committed, they naturally start mirroring those behaviors. This impact extends beyond just the leader. It influences the entire organization. A single leader who sets a strong example can change the mindset and performance of an entire team. It's not about forcing people to change. It's about inspiring them to want to change. In the end, leadership is not about authority. It's about influence. And influence comes from respect, not from commands. People don't follow leaders because they have to. They follow because they want to. And that desire to follow is only created when they see a leader who truly lives by the principles they preach. If you want to lead effectively, don't just give instructions. Be the example that others aspire to follow. Leadership is not just about making decisions, setting goals, or giving instructions. It is about understanding people, how they think, how they feel, and how they respond to different situations. The ability to navigate emotions, both in yourself and in others, is what sets great leaders apart. This ability is called emotional intelligence, and it is one of the most important skills any leader can develop. Emotional intelligence starts with self-awareness. A leader who does not understand their own emotions cannot expect to understand the emotions of others. Self-awareness means recognizing your strengths and weaknesses, knowing what triggers you, and understanding how your emotions affect your decisions and interactions. When leaders lack self-awareness, they react instead of respond. They let frustration dictate their words, let fear hold them back, or let ego get in the way of progress. A self-aware leader, on the other hand, takes a step back, assesses their emotions, and makes choices that align with their values rather than their impulses. Beyond self-awareness, emotional intelligence requires self-regulation. It is not enough to recognize emotions, you must also manage them effectively. Leaders who cannot control their emotions create instability within their teams. If a leader is unpredictable, people walk on eggshells, afraid of triggering an outburst or a mood shift. This kind of environment breeds fear and hesitation rather than trust and collaboration. But when a leader remains calm under pressure, handles stress with composure, and responds to challenges with a level head, they create a culture of stability and confidence. People look to their leaders in difficult moments, and the way a leader reacts sets the tone for everyone else. Empathy is another crucial component of emotional intelligence. Leadership is not just about driving results, it is about understanding the people who create those results. Empathy allows leaders to connect with their teams on a human level, seeing them as individuals rather than just employees. When leaders lack empathy, they become disconnected from the struggles, concerns, and motivations of their people. They make decisions based on numbers rather than people, which eventually leads to disengagement and resentment. A leader with empathy listens, understands, and acknowledges the emotions of others. They don't dismiss concerns or overlook struggles. Instead, they create an environment where people feel heard, valued, and supported. And when people feel supported, they give their best effort. Another key aspect of emotional intelligence is social awareness. Leaders must be able to read the room, understand group dynamics, and recognize unspoken tension. Many conflicts in teams do not arise from open disagreements, but from underlying frustrations that go unnoticed. A leader who lacks social awareness misses these signals and allows problems to escalate. But a leader who pays attention to body language, tone, and team morale can address issues before they become bigger problems. Social awareness also helps leaders communicate more effectively, ensuring their words and actions resonate with their audience. Finally, emotional intelligence involves relationship management. Leadership is about building strong, lasting relationships based on trust and respect. This requires clear communication, conflict resolution skills, and the ability to inspire and motivate others. A leader with strong emotional intelligence does not manipulate or command. They influence and guide. They foster collaboration, encourage growth, and help others reach their potential. When conflicts arise, they do not ignore them or let emotions take over. Instead, they approach them with understanding, seeking solutions that strengthen relationships rather than damage them. At its core, emotional intelligence is what makes leadership sustainable. Skills, strategies, and knowledge are important, but without emotional intelligence, leaders struggle to connect, inspire, and build trust. Leadership is not about being the smartest person in the room. It is about being the person who understands people the most. Those who master emotional intelligence become the leaders that others want to follow, not because they have to, but because they choose to. Discipline is often seen as a personal trait, something that helps individuals stay focused and achieve their goals. But in leadership, discipline is much more than that. It is the foundation of trust. People do not trust leaders simply because they have a title or because they say the right things. Trust is built over time through consistent actions, reliability, and a commitment to doing what is right even when it is difficult. And none of that is possible without discipline. A disciplined leader is someone who follows through on their promises, meets their own standards, and holds themselves accountable before expecting it from others. Trust is fragile. It takes a long time to build, but can be broken in an instant. When a leader lacks discipline, they become inconsistent. One day they are fully engaged, the next they are distracted. One moment they set high expectations, the next they lower them for convenience. This inconsistency creates uncertainty, and uncertainty destroys trust. People need to know what to expect from their leaders. They need to see that their leader is committed, reliable, and steady, especially in challenging times. Discipline also means doing the right thing even when no one is watching. It is easy to be disciplined when there is external pressure, but true discipline is internal. It is about holding yourself to a standard regardless of recognition or reward. When leaders cut corners, avoid hard work, or make decisions based on convenience rather than principle, people notice. They may not say anything immediately, but over time, trust erodes. On the other hand, when leaders consistently do what they say they will do, show up fully prepared, and follow their own rules, they build a reputation of integrity. And integrity is what makes people trust a leader, not just obey them. Another way discipline creates trust is by setting the standard for the team. A leader cannot demand discipline from others while lacking it themselves. If a leader shows up late, procrastinates, or fails to meet deadlines, their team will start to mirror that behavior. They will see that discipline is not truly valued, and they will adjust their own efforts accordingly. But when a leader demonstrates discipline by being punctual, staying committed to their goals, and maintaining high standards, the team follows. People respect leaders who work hard and lead by example. They trust leaders who do not make excuses, but instead take full responsibility for their actions. Discipline is especially important in difficult times. When challenges arise, people look to their leaders for guidance. A disciplined leader does not panic, quit, or compromise their values under pressure. They remain steady, focused, and committed to finding a solution. This stability reassures the team and reinforces trust. In contrast, a leader who loses control, shifts blame, or abandons their principles in tough moments quickly loses the respect of their people. Trust is not built in easy times. It is tested and proven in moments of adversity. One of the most overlooked aspects of discipline and leadership is self-care. A disciplined leader does not just push themselves to work harder, they also take care of their physical and mental well-being. They understand that burnout leads to poor decision-making and inconsistency. By maintaining healthy habits, managing stress, and staying balanced, they show their team that discipline is not just about working non-stop. It is about sustaining excellence over the long term. At its core, discipline is about commitment. It is about making a decision to uphold certain values and following through, no matter how difficult it becomes. Leaders who lack discipline create environments where rules are flexible, standards are unclear, and accountability is weak. But disciplined leaders create environments of trust where people feel safe, confident, and inspired to give their best effort. Trust is not built overnight. It is earned through daily actions, repeated behaviors, and unwavering commitment. And the foundation of that trust is discipline, the quiet, consistent effort to do what is right, not just when it is easy, but always. Growth is not optional for a leader, it is a responsibility. The moment a leader stops growing, they stop leading. Leadership is not about reaching a destination and staying there. It is about continuous evolution, learning and improvement. The world is constantly changing, industries evolve, and challenges never stop coming. A leader who does not commit to growth will quickly become outdated, ineffective, and uninspiring. Personal growth is the foundation of leadership because leaders set the tone for the people around them. If a leader remains stagnant, so does the team. If a leader stops learning, so does the organization. Leadership is not about knowing all the answers. It is about having the humility to recognize that there is always more to learn. Leaders who actively seek new knowledge, develop new skills, and refine their thinking create an environment where growth becomes the standard. When people see their leader investing in self-improvement, they are inspired to do the same. One of the biggest mistakes a leader can make is assuming that past success guarantees future success. Just because a strategy worked before does not mean it will work again. Just because a leader once had the right skills does not mean those skills will always be relevant. The best leaders understand that growth is a continuous process. They read, they seek mentorship, they ask for feedback, and they adapt. They challenge themselves not because they are not good enough, but because they know they can always be better. Growth also requires self-awareness. A leader who is not willing to look inward and assess their own strengths and weaknesses will struggle to improve. It takes courage to acknowledge areas that need development, but it is necessary for growth. Great leaders seek constructive criticism, not because they enjoy it, but because they know that true leadership requires constant refinement. They do not shy away from difficult conversations or uncomfortable truths. Instead, they embrace them as opportunities to improve. Another aspect of growth is adaptability. The world does not stand still, and neither should a leader. New technologies emerge, markets shift, and industries transform. Leaders who resist change become obstacles to progress. But leaders who embrace change, who are willing to unlearn outdated methods and adopt new ones, stay relevant. They do not cling to the way things have always been done. They ask, how can we do this better? They challenge their own assumptions and encourage others to think differently. Growth is also about expanding perspectives. A leader who only surrounds themselves with like-minded individuals limits their own development. Great leaders seek diverse viewpoints, engage in meaningful discussions, and remain open to new ideas. They understand that growth happens when they step outside their comfort zones, engage with different perspectives, and challenge their own biases. This willingness to learn from others makes them more effective, more innovative, and more connected to the people they lead. Perhaps the most important reason why growth is a responsibility is that leadership is not about the leader, it is about the people they serve. A stagnant leader cannot inspire, guide, or develop others effectively. A leader who is actively growing, however, sets an example of lifelong learning, resilience, and adaptability. They create a culture where people feel encouraged to develop their own skills and reach their full potential. At its core, growth is not just about self-improvement, it is about being better for those you lead. Leadership is a privilege, and with that privilege comes the responsibility to constantly elevate yourself so that you can elevate others. The best leaders understand that they are never finished learning, never finished improving, and never too experienced to grow. Leadership is not about reaching the top. It is about continuing to climb, not just for yourself, but for everyone who follows. Leadership is not about status, power, or prestige. It is about service. The greatest leaders do not seek to be at the top for the sake of being in charge. They take on leadership because they feel a deep responsibility to serve others. True leadership is not measured by titles or authority, but by the impact a leader has on the people they serve. When leaders put service over status, they build trust, inspire loyalty, and create lasting change. One of the biggest misconceptions about leadership is that it is about being in control. Many people believe that leadership is about making decisions, giving orders, and having others follow. But leadership is not about control, it is about support. A true leader does not stand above their team, they stand beside them, guiding, empowering, and helping them succeed. When leaders focus on serving rather than commanding, they create an environment where people feel valued, respected, and motivated to contribute their best. Service-based leadership requires humility. A leader who prioritizes status is concerned with their own image, recognition, and personal gain. They make decisions based on what benefits them rather than what benefits the team. They crave attention, demand respect, and seek to prove their authority. But a leader who leads with service does the opposite. They shift the focus away from themselves and toward the mission, the people, and the bigger purpose. They do not lead to be admired. They lead to make a difference. Great leaders understand that their role is to remove obstacles, provide guidance, and support the growth of their team. They do not see themselves as superior, they see themselves as facilitators of success. They ask, how can I help, instead of how can I benefit? They celebrate the achievements of others rather than seeking credit for themselves. And because of this mindset, they earn the respect and trust of the people they lead. Service-based leadership also requires empathy. A leader who puts service over status takes the time to understand the needs, challenges, and aspirations of their team. They listen not to respond, but to truly understand. They do not make decisions in isolation. They consider how their choices will impact the people around them. This kind of leadership fosters a culture of trust where people feel safe to express their ideas, take risks, and grow. Another key aspect of serving over status is leading with integrity. When a leader prioritizes status, they may compromise their values to protect their reputation or maintain power. But when service comes first, integrity is non-negotiable. A leader who serves does not take shortcuts or make decisions based on self-interest. They do what is right, even when it is difficult, because they understand that leadership is a responsibility, not a privilege. Service-based leadership also creates stronger, more engaged teams. When people feel that their leader truly cares about them, they become more committed, more motivated, more willing to go the extra mile. They do not work hard because they are forced to. They do it because they believe in the leader and the mission. Leadership is not about demanding effort, it is about inspiring it. And inspiration comes from seeing a leader who genuinely serves, supports, and uplifts others. At the end of the day, leadership is not about being in charge. It is about taking care of those in your charge. It is not about climbing to the top, but about lifting others as you rise. The best leaders understand that their greatest legacy is not the power they hold, but the lives they impact. True leadership is not about being served. It is about serving others, and in doing so, creating something greater than themselves.